Ahsoka boy, Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am. But right in front of me was the answer. 'Cause on Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song.
Hello, Star Wars fans. You know there's just 123 days until Christmas 2023. And we're here to have a community stream. If you would like to participate in today's show, you want to come on and talk about Ahsoka, then all you have to do is be one of our patrons. You can join on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can find the link to Patreon in the description below, as well as one of our YouTube members. If you'd want to join as a YouTube member, you could do that as well. And just the intro here at the bottom, you can find the link to join as a as a member. Thomas Didymus, hello. Oh, worst song, Sandra's intro or Sabine's bike ride. That's great. That's great. You know, that song it's not exactly my preferred listening style, but I got it because the words are absolutely perfect for being a Star Wars fan. You know, you got to remember who you are. You go back to being a child, and the answer to enjoy Star Wars is to stay young forever. You know, many of us, we kind of get stuck up in our analytical brains, and we forget how to do that. Oh, and we've got something else here on the channel. You know, we do predictions. We do predictions for each episode, and if you get more correct on your predictions, or as many, you tie or beat Santa, you can show up in the scroll at the bottom of the page. Because we have two episodes, then the scroll at the bottom has more pages. So we've got episode 1 here. You can see all the folks who tied or beat Santa in the predictions. And then we have episode 2. And then, of course, the season as a whole. There you go. Trev, I feel like you need a Life Day song. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yes, Vanessa made it onto the leaderboard for the very first time. It's very exciting. And, you know, I saw Jedi Mike thinks he's in the green room, but he's not. Because Jedi Mike is used the wrong link. He's on the wrong page. He's waiting for nothing. Mike, I sent you a DM. You've got to go to the link that's in the DM. And I saw we had a moment. Dawn K was in the green room before the show started, and then she dipped. So, Mike, if you're still hanging out in the green room, you're in a building all by yourself. There's nobody there. Nobody there. Oh, KG, good to see you here as well. And we've got. Let me go to page 2 of the Wall of Fame. And the way this works, each episode normally gets a Wall of Fame. You would appear at the bottom of the page for an entire week until the following week. Then, because we had 2, I've got episode 1. You see Brett Phillips, Corlo Wren, Dawn Basham, my good friend, Vanessa, my fantastic friend from Orlando area, Baymax, Jedi Master Fox, Mumbo Jimbo, Sheev the Wise, my arch nemesis. No, I love Sheev. And then Star Wars Fits and Star Wars Democracy. Congratulations on your predictions for episode 2. We've also got some of the same folks. are in there. So doing quite well. We got Brian Stone, CCG03. I new to the predictions. I'm unfamiliar with that one. Baymax. We've got Brian Kelly, Corlo Ren, Ducky Momo, the infamous, the one and the only Ducky Momo. Sheev the Wise made it on there again. You see Brett Phillips is on there. And let's catch the scroll as it comes around again. We'll get the last couple names. There's only a couple more on there. Sheev the Wise right there. Brett Phillips and Jedi Master Fox on both. Jumpin' Jamie made it. Jumpin' Jamie and his daughter, Bouncin' Birdie, she was on until Baymax took a point away. Oh, that's Baymax's fault, Birdie. You were on there. Making Star Wars actually made it on there. Mike Yaney, Nerd Mafia, Seth Nico, and Stephen Murphy. So as we go, we keep adding these up week over week, and we have a season leaderboard. If you make it onto the season leaderboard for the very end of the season, so all 8 episodes combined together, you make it onto the leaderboard, you can win some Star Wars Santa merch. I'll buy it. I'll ship it. No cost to you. I'll send you some merch. You can pick a t-shirt or something like that, and I'll send it to you. So you can see we have a few people on the list already. Corlo Ren, of course, Baymax, Brett Phillips, Brian Stone, CCG03, Sheev the Wise is on the list. Don Basham is there, as well as Jedi Master Fox, and Vanessa Floria. Vanessa's still on the leaderboard for the season. So congratulations, you guys. You're doing a fantastic job. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So let's see who else. We get cut back up with the chat here. Jedi Mike gets his own private green room. Actually, no. I'll tell you just so you know. Jason Ward, Star Wars Meg, and Bespin Bulletin have a private link that they can join any live stream, anytime, anywhere. They have all the keys to the kingdom. They can come in whenever they want. So, yeah, shocking. Jason Ward made it onto the leaderboard. How did that happen? Yeah, I know I'm living my life the wrong way. Making Star Wars made the leaderboard and I didn't. That's it. That's it exactly. That's it exactly. Trev, where can we just buy the merch? Well, there's a link in the description here where you can go out to the Streamlabs merch store. I just got a thing today where there's some new merch that I can add to the store. So if you hold off for another day or two, there'll be new merch that you can buy. Some of the stuff that's in there has been there for a long time. If you like one of the things that's in there, by all means, feel free to go to the merch store and order yourself something there. That is a great way to support the channel. Let other people know how much you support the channel. That's a great way to do it. So let's see, who else? What else we have here? Nick, I changed the locks. Sometimes. Yes, thank you, Trev. I appreciate it. I appreciate that so much. You guys are doing great. All right, so I mentioned ways to support the channel. Of course, the merch is a great way to do that. But thank you, Trev. Thank you for that. But Patreon is probably the best way that you can support any content creator out there. Because they take less of your money and give it to the content creator. So whether it's Star Wars Meg, Jason Ward, EBN, Den of Nerds, Star Wars Santa, whatever it is that you'd like to support, Patreon takes less of your money and gives it to your content creator. And here in YouTube, you can support the channel as well. That's another great way. And in there, YouTube takes more of your money. We get less, but it's still a great way to let YouTube know that the channel should be promoted. It should be shared. It should be there. So, yeah, doesn't everyone want shirt? Yes. Nothing like receiving a gift from Santa. You know, KG, she's won the predictions before. She won some free Star Wars Santa merch. KG is fantastic at the predictions game. She does a great job. Yeah. Um, yeah. Wow. Remember when Josh had a Patreon? I know he got rid of it. I don't know why. Patreon, it takes like 10% off the top, 10, 15. And there's different tiers in Patreon you can get from them. So 10 to 15% they take off the top. YouTube starts at 30% and they take 40%, stuff like that. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The YouTube, they take all your money. So there you go. You guys, and you know what else helps is doing the social stuff that we always talk about. Every content creator says, share, like. But you know what YouTube's been looking at lately is audience interactions. Audience interactions. So you all in the chat are doing a great job in supporting the channel there. It costs you nothing. Costs you absolutely nothing, and you can support the channel. However, if you can spare $1, you can spare $1 a month, you can support us on Patreon. You can get a link to join our community streams. You can get content that's not available anywhere else. It's only on Patreon. And I hold a monthly Zoom call with all of our supporters. You can join on the Zoom call, and we can talk. We hang out as a community. We talk about different stuff. I give you some. If Santa gets 5,000 subs, he'll dye his beard like a candy cane. Oh, you know what, Trev? I'd do it just for you. If we get 5,000 subs, oh my goodness. I would go. I'd have my daughter help. She would absolutely love that. We'd dye the beard like a candy cane. That would. It's a deal. I'll take that. I'll take that deal. I'll take that deal. Just not during Christmas. Can't do it, November and December. But I could do it after that. Absolutely. So you guys do a great job. We're here to talk about Ahsoka, and we've got the links are posted in Discord on the channel. The supporters only. It's a hidden channel. If you have your YouTube account linked to Discord, or you have your Patreon account linked to Discord, then you can get the channel unlocked in Discord so that you can see the information that goes out there for members only. I also posted the link in Patreon for members, and I posted it in YouTube in the community. If you go to YouTube and look at the community stuff, there's a link in there for our members as well. So any of those ways, you can find the link to join the channel today to talk about what did you think of the last 2 episodes of Ahsoka, the premiere, the first 2 episodes. I'll tell you what, when I first watched them, I mentioned this yesterday. Yes, Zoom is the real tea. Jedi Mike knows. Sometimes on Zoom, we share things that I can't share here on YouTube. We share things, what's said in Zoom stays in Zoom, that kind of thing. We don't post anything out to social media from there, but what we share in there stays in there, and I can share some of the tea that I have. Sometimes it's a really spicy tea. Sometimes it's just bland, plain kind of. But if we have a good time, yeah. Hello, Zoom Vegas. That's right. That's right. So the first 2 episodes, I watched them Tuesday night with my wife. My wife has never watched a single Star Wars animated show at all. Never. So she certainly has not seen Rebels, nor has she seen the Clone Wars, anything else. You name it, no. The answer is no. Then, in fact, I'll tell you guys a little secret. She hasn't even watched all of the movies all of the way through. She's watched portions of the movies, parts of them. Some of them she's watched all the time. But, yeah, Kay says, I tried to enter Zoom the last time, couldn't get the audio to work. Don't know how to Zoom. KG doesn't know how to Zoom. Look, I understand, Kay. And Mike, I see you in the green room. We'll bring you in just a moment. So so my wife, she hasn't even watched all of the movies all the way through. especially the prequels. She checked out on those, and she won't watch some of those. If they're on in the background, she'll watch it here and there, but she won't watch it all the way through. And even in the original trilogy, she hasn't watched all those either. Yeah, she doesn't. She doesn't. She's not a huge Star Wars fan. She's just not. And she did enjoy the sequels. Probably her one of her favorite Star Wars movies of all is The Force Awakens. And she actually complained the last time we watched it without her. What? That's the one I like. So that's The Force Awakens. She got hooked into The Mandalorian. She loves The Mandalorian. But love might be a little strong. She enjoyed watching The Mandalorian. Boba Fett, she thought was okay. She kind of liked it. She lost interest in Kenobi. It got too boring for her. She's like, I can't do it. And we watched the opening, the premiere of Ahsoka, and she says, that was all right. Not as good as The Mandalorian. I said, I might even like Boba Fett a little bit better. But it's got potential. It could get better. So right now, that's where she stands. she's got it ranked just below Boba Fett. So look, and as we were watching it, did she have any questions? Was she confused? No, she followed right along. Oh, did she catch Andor? No, she checked out of Andor almost immediately. She's like, no. Yeah, no, not watching that. No, I'm not. So that's my wife. But yeah, and like Trev said, we all have our flaws, right? We all have our flaws. My wife certainly has her. She doesn't share my love for Star Wars, and she loves me despite it. And the reverse is true. It's just as true the other way around. So that's great, Trev. So that's my wife kind of fell out right into that. Yeah, exactly. You tell her she's on the naughty list. Well, we're giving her a chance. Let's let it go. Let's let it play through and see where we end up. Right? Let's find out where it ends up. Sam the Sham says my Normie wife liked it, but scoffed at Sabine surviving the laser sword wound. Couldn't think who else had died of it in the past. That's funny. That's funny. Is Sabine the Bix of Ahsoka? I think so. I think that's a fair thing. All right. So I think we've done the intro. And just so you guys know, my initial thoughts watching it with my wife that evening is that I gave episode 1 like a 6.5, and I gave episode 2 like a 7. That was about where I had it on the 10-point scale. That 4K TV, that 70-inch 4K TV, is just not the best place to watch some of these streaming shows, because I watched it again on our 55-inch that I have here in my office. It's great. It's great, and even better on my monitor. It's wonderful. No issues at all. And when I rewatched it yesterday with all of you, and we did the predictions game, I bumped them up. I gave both of them a 2-point bump. So I went from 6.5 to 8.5 on episode 1. And I went from a 7 to a 9 on episode 2. So we're in that 8.5 to 9 on both episodes. So very well. I'm very happy. I'm a very happy Star Wars fan. All right, so it's time to bring in our first guest. We've got Jedi Mike in the green room here. I'm going to bring him in, and we're going to talk about Mike. How give us your feedback on episodes 1 and 2.
I was blown away. I love it. It seems like it gets better every time we watch it together, especially. So I gave the first one a 10 for sure for history, and I gave the second a 9. But it's like gets better, that 9. Especially that time we watched it with you. That was my third time.
That's great. It was my third time
maybe
as well.
It's a charm. I don't know.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about it a little bit yesterday. I think as we rewatch, the scores tend to rise a little bit because you kind of settle down on your expectation. And that's the question I asked yesterday: is like, where were your expectations coming in, and how well did it meet those expectations? And I kind of
Well,
came in with some hyper elevated expectations, and then it kind of didn't land where I had kind of built my own hype up to. And then once you kind of level it back out and rewatch it, I think it gets more enjoyable.
for sure. I mean, I'm obviously team half full, so I have weird expectations that I feel are in balance with my force energy. So it landed. The parts that took me out, we can talk about when we get to like the film study part of it. You know, when there's certain character parts that took me out, and there were certain volume parts that took me out. I agree with you, Santa, and probably some other people, but it was it was perfectly Rebels season 5 is what all the that's what like the collective seems like for me.
Excellent, excellent. So, as Rebels season 5, then how much are you bothered on a not bothered at all or annoyed that Filoni retconned the post the
That
epilogue scene in here?
I don't understand it narratively yet. Like I understand when they retcon the comic book, and that has been argued, you know, with Kanan's part, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
But this one, I was waiting for Trev, or I'm waiting for some other speculation. Like I don't know. Doesn't matter to me too much. Like I don't
Excellent.
think about it too much. Sorry to steal, but um, I think that if he's doing something with the white Jedi, like the way that you guys go far into that parallel storytelling, it doesn't bother me. I'm open minded about that part. But that's a great thread for people to talk about.
Yeah, and the thing is, and we talked about this before the show aired, that Rosario in one of the magazines, one of the interviews that Rosario did, she said that she and Dave Filoni talked a lot about Ahsoka the White, Gandalf the White, Ahsoka's journey, how it's not complete. We're not there yet, and there's a journey to get there. So if they had the discussion, then we know there's something. What is that? And when will it come to fruition? And why did he retcon it? I think we can kind of guess at it. Like obviously, as he's kind of worked through her story, he realizes this is not the point that I had in mind then. It's kind of matured and it'll come later. Something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's so funny. I've been avoiding you, and I've been avoiding a lot because I'm pretty good at like detaching from certain things now that I practice it with the Force. Thank you, Force. I don't know the behind the scenes little mini documentary that they dropped on Disney Plus. Like I haven't even watched that. So if Dave or Rosario have been speaking to stuff, yeah, like Sheev and I have been avoiding a lot. When you hang out with Steve, you get stronger, and so I can like. It's hard to stay away from you and Meg and Jason. Like it's super. You guys understand the magnetism of the situation,
Sure.
But we're strong when we're a community, and so I hang out with certain people, and we don't want to know. Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, and
it's awesome to think about when you guys activate my storytelling. For my own craft. Like when you guys talk about layering the Lord of the Rings stuff, or if it will be a fellowship, like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, I only bring it because now we've seen it, right? You've seen the Rebels part. You've seen it here in Ahsoka. They obviously. At first, I was thinking, well, wait, maybe that scene at the end of Rebels happens some other time. We couldn't tell from the trailers. It looked like probably, but not 100% sure. And then when we saw episode 2, I'm 100% sure that's the scene. But there's differences between them, and it goes back to, and I know people hate this, but it goes back to one of the explanations I saw Star Wars Explained give, that when things happen a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and we're hearing these stories, storytellers embellish differently as long as they get the main story points correct. Um, and and I used the yes, yes,
Every time it comes back to the legends versus the small L legends. Like, whoa.
yeah, yeah, and I used the example the other day of having a coloring page. If we all were given a coloring page, the same page,
Mhm.
and given a box of crayons and told to color that page, we might put different colors in different places, use different techniques in coloring, that kind of thing. At the end of the day, it's still the same page, the picture. It's just filled in a little differently. And what I'm seeing between the different canon iterations of a story is this kind of filling in the lines a little differently, whether it's the Ahsoka novel or the Clone Wars season 7 when she met Maul, or in this case Rebels, or
Disney
the
shill?
Ahsoka,
Am
yeah,
I really a Disney shill? Really?
or the Ahsoka novel. Hey, I've got another friend here, and I want to bring this up real quick. It says for Coachella, put that's why I stopped doing predictions. I didn't want to create theories for myself, expectations, and then have to deal with those. And that's I've seen that by a couple of folks. Like they don't do predictions anymore because it kind of can set them up wrong. And let me bring in Star Wars Meg. Hello, my friend.
Hey,
Hello
Meg.
there.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good.
I've
Can I
been
drop
enjoying.
one thing out of my head before? Like,
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
So I hear the thing about when Sabine walks away from the wall and she's looking at the artwork and her connection to Ezra, and I don't want to ship people, right? And is something happening there, right? Does Dave have a story in mind, or is he acquiescing to something? That's the only hot splinter that I will maybe ponder later. But it's Meg's floor.
Meg, what do you think about? What do you think about the ship between Ezra and Sabine?
I don't really like it. I think it undermines like their sibling bond, and I think that's what Filoni said he was going for.
Yeah, some people were upset by it though, because in Rebels it seemed that Ezra had a crush on Sabine through at least the first half of it. Did you see it that way? I mean, that's what
I
it looked
did.
like to me. Yeah.
I did in the first couple of seasons.
Right. And then it kind of matures past that. Is what I hear you saying is like it matures past that adolescent crush into a familiar bond between the crew of the Ghost with, Mama Hera, and then Zeb is his older brother, Sabine is his older sister, that kind of thing. That's what I think I hear you saying. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this goes the same way that a lot of people talk about Ezra turning dark, and I just don't see
No.
that because he's already
Ezra is
matured.
the Inquisitor.
I
Yeah.
really hate that theory because, StarWars.com's databank says Marok was an Inquisitor back in the day, and that just completely defeats the possibility of it being Ezra. And I guess if you haven't seen Rebels, you might have that assumption, but as you say, he was tempted by Maul, that whole holocron arc.
Yep.
The Bendu kind of helped him in Kanan with their master apprentice difficulties. And I think
And,
Ezra's gone beyond that. I
yeah, I
think
do
he's
too.
out there
And
doing something else.
he flirted around with um oh shoot, what's his name? Um the dang it. I keep flipping almost to the actor's name in Rogue One. Saul Guerrero. Saw Gerrera, right?
Yes.
Ezra kind of flirted around with Saw Gerrera even in that type of resistance to the Empire, and he even rejected that, right?
He did. I'll give you a prediction right now. We're never going to find out who Marok is because it's not the
Oh.
story.
Or you find out Marok is just Marok, and you don't ever get his backstory, right?
Yeah, I just don't think they're going to reveal it. I
Yeah.
don't think it matters who he is. He's just like a third mercenary for Morgan Elsbeth.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys another question about, as we mentioned, mercenaries. It gets me thinking about something else, and I see some discussion of it, but I don't know that folks are getting it quite right, at least the way that I see it. So let me see what you guys think. What do you think about Balin and Shin as mercenaries? Are they light side, dark side? Are they loyal to the tenets of what? I don't know. Like, what's the story with them?
I feel like Balin is Count Dooku or Qui-Gon if they had gone down a path away from the Jedi Order. So I think Balin's very in tune with the Force, whereas Shin is like a darker. She goes too far. She's a darker side than a dark Jedi. She's a bit darker than that. And I think Marok is just doing what he's told. I feel like they're somewhere in the middle. They're not Sith, but for me, it's more Shin who's a bit more aggressive, and Balin's he doesn't like when Morgan Elsbeth talks about killing Ahsoka,
Right.
and he's got this nostalgia for the Jedi Order, which makes me think he may have left before Order 66, because Professor Huyang says he left after the Clone Wars, but they don't say he survived the Jedi Purge. So he may have done a Barriss Offee and just kind of left before that, and then maybe found Obi-Wan's, the holocron with the message of "Do not return to the temple. That time is over." I feel like that gave him perspective of what was lost, because a lot of Jedi after Order 66, minus a few recent additions to canon, those Jedi seem to be a bit done with the Order. Even Yoda and Obi-Wan, they're
Yeah.
kind of reflective of their mistakes, whereas Balin doesn't come across as that to me. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah. I'll give Mike a chance first, and then I will tell you. I have a thought.
Well, I mean, I feel like Kanan had a specific distance from the Force, the way that Qui-Gon had a distance. Like, everyone's got their distance from their, like, ability to, like, use the Force. I don't know how else to say it. So I think they must sense something. Maybe he's seen one of the new ways of the regenerative part of the Force, or another perspective that a community that he's come in contact with since Order 66 ended. He's got some perspective that seems, like you said, gentle. So it's a callback to Jedi ways, but he's doing what he did the same way maybe Kanan was a mercenary when he was underground surviving. People survive.
Yes, you touched on something. He's a survivor of Order 66, and he's gone about this time period between making his way through the galaxy, right? Just trying to survive as a mercenary for hire, keeping his head low, and now post Empire, he's able to come more forceful as a he was using old Jedi codes in his ship. So associating with the Jedi is not being a Jedi, but is saying I'm a Force wielder. That he certainly is not a light side Force user. He doesn't seem to be adhering to any kind of morals that the Jedi Order would have had them abiding by, like following the will of the Force, right? Following the Force, doing things according to the leading of the Force. To him, like Morgan said, kill Ahsoka. He's like, well, that'd be a shame. Like that'd be sad. She's like, oh, are you resistant? He's like, no, I'll do it, but it's just sad. So he's not following the Force. He's following the money. Morgan pays him to do it. He'll do it. And then with Shin, I see her as a chaotic energy. She's got a chaotic energy to her. It's she could be a scary type individual based on the energy she brings in when she first started attacking. The amount of speed and ferocity she put into her attacks were kind of frightening, and she's just got that intensity to her, the chaotic energy that I think makes her a dangerous person. Let me get the super chat. Mumbo Jimbo, thank you for the $10 super chat, my friend. He says, what do you think about the possibility that in addition to traveling to another galaxy, the Purgles time travel Thrawn and Ezra to the past? Morgan says they contacted her through time and space. So let me come back to that. But I thought Meg put it really well about Balin kind of following a path that perhaps Dooku would have followed had he not turned to the Palpatine and followed the Sith leading there. That's a really good point, one that I'm willing to entertain more thought about. I think that's good. So what do I think about this contacting me through time and space? Oh boy. What do you guys think? I chatted about this yesterday. I talked about it during the live stream. I chatted about it yesterday. I sent some messages to Meg and Jason as well as on my Discord.
I'll send you a message right now. There's 2 words. There's only 2 words that I would bring up that ties the last thing to this, obviously, that no one's talking about.
Yeah? Go.
I mean, except for Scotty, right? High Republic. These 2 new characters are very much expanding and have different parts of the Force. The way I just showed you the Legends book of Luke Skywalker, right? We're going to see different iterations of people's Force. That's his moral code that he's living by in that moment for him. And there's people in the High Republic. Shin's garb looks High Republic, even though his looks more Moff Gideon, whatever. Like the Acolyte, we all can see how good the Acolyte's going to be now, because we're getting different iterations over space and time in a galaxy far, far away, many galaxies maybe.
So
like that's what
I strongly disagree with that. But so the thing to your credit with that theory is that Hayang remembers building the lightsaber, and Hayang is 25,000 years old, so Hayang was around during the High Republic. But he says that Balin left the Order after the Clone Wars. So that invalidates the whole point, I think, of the High Republic. I love where your head's at. I would love for Thrawn to be stuck in the High Republic or something like that. I don't think this show is going to take a risk like that. I simply believe that when Morgan Elsbeth said Thrawn is contacting you through time and space, Thrawn is with some Night Sisters that they can communicate through the Force. Yeah. And I think it's as simple as that. I think the time and space is just for dramatic effect in modern television. I don't think it's got a deeper implication.
I agree with everything Meg just said, because
let me show that I wasn't talking about High Republic time travel like we were before when we thought World Between Worlds might work like that. I was talking about character. The fact that we get these broadly drawn new versions of characters in the High Republic books and the High Republic comics, they're broadening our sense of what Jedi can be. Tales of the Jedi. We get more into Dooku. I'm saying that we are going to see spiritual, different iterations of the Force in this same time and space. It's just one galaxy to another, and the Purgle can travel there. I'm not getting all time travel.
Let me put it this way. I think that more people will understand, Mike, is Disney era Lucasfilm is expanding the scope of what we understood to be Jedi and Force users. So this is kind of what's happening in the Disney era. We see that across all different mediums, not just to the High Republic, but in across all of the different formats. So
And the beautiful StarWarsKids.com. It's a diversity that's beautiful to me, but that's just the way that I see it.
yeah, so I agree with Meg. I do not think that Purgle travel through time, only in the sense where there's that theory out there that any use of the Force at all is part of it. It's I can't get my brain on the word. The conduit that runs it is the world between worlds. So one person talks to another person through the Force. The conduit for that to happen is through the world between worlds. Somebody lifts an object through the Force. The conduit for that flow of energy is through the world between worlds. That if somebody does anything using the Force, that's the conduit, the mechanism by which those things happen. That's a theory. I don't know that there's any validity to it. It's something worth kind of just sitting and thinking about. But do the Purgle use the Force to hyperspace? I don't know that we see evidence of that. They have this energy that emits from their body. You could see it like kind of pulsate through their body, and they create these hyperspace energy. So is it there's another there are folks playing around with the concept that hyperspace is, and I heard Scotty talking about the other day, hyperspace is a connection to the Force. I don't know about that. But so do I think that the Purgle pulled them to a different time? No. I agree with Meg, and this is what I talked about yesterday. Morgan Elsbeth is not talking to Thrawn. Morgan Elsbeth is talking to this ancient Night Sister, these ancient people, right? Well, they're not ancient now, but they're generations and generations down the line. I think she's communicating with her distant relatives who are using the same sort of Night Sister magic that she uses, maybe in a different kind of form, but that the Night Sisters at some point traveled from that place to this place. They built that like Stonehenge kind of thing as a directional marker back home. The map is back home, and she's communicating to them. They're telling her, hey, there's a dude here. He's blue, he's got red eyes, and he needs you, right? Like he says he knows you. And she's getting messages from them through the Night Sister kind of stuff. And that directional marker is a way to them. I think it's purely that. And Thrawn happens to be working with them, and they're putting them back in contact with her. So that's what I think. Otherwise, that Stonehenge was built way before Thrawn ever went there. And why would it point to Thrawn? It doesn't point to Thrawn. It points to the Night Sister homeworld, and that's where Thrawn is. That's what I would say.
I also realize that all four of them are misfits, because Balin and Shin are some remnant of an old Jedi Order that fell apart years ago. Marok is a remnant of an Inquisitorial Order that fell long ago. And Morgan Elsbeth is a human who was adopted, I think, by the Night Sisters. And if you read the short story by Dave Filoni's wife called Bug, I think that's who Morgan Elsbeth is. A human who was adopted by Mother Talzin.
That rings well, because if you watch like the Clone Wars and you see the Night Sisters, they don't look like her. They look like a different race, a different species, not human. So I think I like that. I like that idea. Does Shin wear shin pads? I suppose if she wears pads, there are shin pads. So
Oh, I've got a thought on this. We're talking about Balin and Shin's outfits.
yeah.
Mhm.
If
Yes.
you compare them to Savage Opress, it's a lot of similarities.
Hmm.
Good
Maul's brother.
Right.
card.
Right. Maul's brother Savage, which he was part of. So again, for folks who don't necessarily watch all the stuff, and they don't know, the Night Sisters lived on a planet called Dathomir, and on that planet there were also some other uh, male species that Maul came from. Maul and his brother Savage were recruited by the Night Sisters on. Recruited might not be the right word. They were they were put into service by the Night Sisters and kind of modified. So they're from this planet Dathomir, as where you get the connection. And why did Maul and Savage serve the Night Sisters? Well, because the Night Sisters would go put them into service. They would pick the strongest of them, and then is that the way? Am I close?
You're very close.
Yeah,
I want to put forward a crazy prediction.
yeah.
We might see a revived Maul.
Whoa,
I just have a feeling that's something Filoni would do. That when we get to Peridia, which is this new second galaxy, I think we might see the Night Sisters, through their magic, through Thrawn trying to amass an army, just this like zombie Maul. And I was thinking about that after watching the episode of Rebels where they just possess Sabine when
yeah.
Ezra's shown the darksaber.
Well, and you remember when they attacked Dooku remotely? They almost killed him. Choking him out, right? Mother Talzin almost killed him. So there is this possession. Even, I mean, that's how you explain in some way how Maul even survived. Is they brought him together. They used his magic. They put the pieces, imbued magic into him. And when you see him killed, you see that escape as well, or Savage. You see it escape. So
Do you guys remember that well, we thought it was a fan film. That shot of supposedly Rosario fighting the guy who plays Maul in The Phantom Menace, but a couple of years ago. And everyone's like, oh, it's for a fan film, there's no way this is real. But
yeah.
I remember taking a look at it and thinking, if this is a fan film, that's very impressive. Ray Park. And I'm starting to think, what if that was real? I know the cameras were like amateur, supposedly, and they weren't Lucasfilm quality. But what if they were literally filming another Ahsoka Maul fight scene, but for live action? And because I've never found that fan film.
Yeah, that is a good point. Like they could still be working on it. As fan films go, sometimes they get stuck for a long time while people are busy with their lives, but then they come back around. Hey, we've got a couple other people backing up in the green room. I think that's a good. I think that's a good theory. I don't know that it would come. I like what Stephen Murphy put here. They were called the Witches of Dathomir to distinguish them from the Night Sisters. Morgan calls herself, they call her a witch in this episode. So maybe Stephen's onto something here.
Some people have been Night Daughter about those.
A witch of Dathomir.
I really think this distinction is, I mean, Stephen's right, but it's funny because in canon, in some books, they don't make the distinction. I've seen Night Sister canonically interchangeable with Witches of Dathomir. It's kind of like when they say Dathomirian and Zabrak.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, with those novels, you got to kind of watch, especially in the EU, right? Infinity Ultron said, "Was I the only one that thought when they meant the next galaxy they were talking about the Yuzan Vong?" You're not the only one, but I don't think Yuzan Vong are going to be brought into uh, canon at all.
But
Can I ask
something,
Mike something?
Yeah.
I think Mike will agree with me on this. Do you think when we finally do see Peridia, this new galaxy, it's going to be something insane? I think Dave's got some surprises on that on the other side.
yeah, and I think the Stonehenge thing pointed to many galaxies. Like Santa, I think it's a communication place, and I think the communication within the Force is what's really happening in multiple ways, not just this one place that Thrawn's at.
No, I think it's one place because there's that one stone that has like the half circle cut out of it, and that ball aligns to it, and it shoots a line directly. That stone isn't malleable, right? It's not like it changes heights or positions. It points
Right.
to a place for sure. Hey,
Right. It rotates around and it points to all the tops of the Stonehenge places are different
Yeah, there
places.
were just all the stones had different things on it, right? So
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
Hey, Trev. So thanks for dropping in. You've been great in the chat, giving me softballs. That's great. Appreciate that. So what are you thinking?
I was just going along with it. Well, first of all, like the Witches of Dathomir and the Night Sisters, I'm pretty sure they both originated in that book in like 1995. Like prior to Clone Wars ever being a show or anything else, like it was like 15 years before that is when the Night Sisters of Dathomir originated, and they were called. Pretty sure they were called. The book was called The Witches of Dathomir, but I'm pretty sure they were called Night Sisters in that book. Saying that I haven't read that book in about 20 years, but
I know.
so when Meg says they were used interchangeably, I think they have been used interchangeably for pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I like what you were saying there, that they're like that Morgan is communicating maybe over an old network or like an old to the Night Sister, to a Night Sister home planet or a Night Sister colony. Anyway,
Right.
Where they originated or a colony in another universe. Either way, right? That they let and they. The only thing is though is that I don't. Why is there such a secret to finding this other universe? Like, why is it so secretive? Because it's a whole other universe. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole, and if you're just pointing to this other planet, even then, like why would the Night Sisters have it be so secretive? Like, why wouldn't this information would have been on Dathomir with Talzin? Like, did Talzin know this? I assume she did. You know what I mean? Like, I assume Mother Talzin would have known this, right? So, would that information not have been on just Dathomir itself?
Maybe, or that they are a people who left due to some sort of threat, and they didn't want that threat to be able to find them. So yeah, you don't know. And but the reason I bring this up as well is from some of the stuff Jason Ward has leaked that Thrawn is working with a version of Night Sisters in this other galaxy. And I'm like, oh, well, then this makes sense then, right? How has this place been here, and how has that ball exist for however long it's existed, well before Thrawn ever went there? That ball, the map, the Stonehenge, cannot be directly related to Thrawn at all. It's some indirect path to him.
It makes you think that Stonehenge is a map to a bunch of other different Night Sister colonies.
Could be.
Like a bunch of other Night Sister colonies, maybe in multiple different universes, right?
Yeah,
like,
as you mentioned, with each of those pillars maybe being a different colony. And the ball aligns differently and points to a different place.
So, and if so, that's an interesting concept. I really like that concept. If that's what it ends up being, like, I really enjoy that expansion of the Night Sisters. But yeah,
Fantastic. Any chance we see the Zepho Zephonians.
Okay, so I think that's going to stick to the video games.
Yeah.
Because if they're not willing to bring Cal in, like into anything in the pre-episode 4 timeline, like because they had opportunities to do so already with Kenobi, with like they've had opportunities to do it and they haven't done it at all. You know what I mean? So I don't know why they would just choose the Zepho.
Cameron Monaghan is expensive as F.
Maybe Meg made a point earlier that I think bears repeating. You can't make these shows overly complex in connecting dots, right? Like you can't make it so hard that somebody, a casual person watching them, or somebody new to the story arc, is lost because they're like, "Dude, I can't make the leap from where you are to where I am, and I don't understand what's happening here." I've watched shows that are like that before, and they can be where they kind of set up a story, and you watch all the way, and it's not until the very last episode that you get the key that unlocks the whole thing that makes the entire series make sense. Mm-hmm. It's frustrating when that kind of thing happens. So here, Mariah Jade 2 says, from the courtship of Princess Leia, the witches of Dathomir were light side users, the Singing Sister clan. The Night Sisters were former clan members who went dark and were expelled from the clans. That's fascinating because that fits somewhat with what Jason said, that these other Night Sister people could be light sisters. We don't know.
And again, if that already originates in the books in the U, I vaguely recall that. Like I said, I haven't read that book in like probably the early 2000s. Last time I read that book, but I've only read that book once or twice. But yeah, that would make sense. I was like so Light Sisters already is a concept in Star Wars. So,
and they expelled the Night Sisters out. Yeah, Nerd Mafia, I see you driving. Yeah,
I'm ready to talk though. I got something to say at that last comment.
Go ahead.
I definitely.
No, then he went away.
Rural Farm Boy, welcome.
How perfect. Hold on.
I finally get to say, I'll do Miss Meg.
There you go.
Did you guys hear what I said or not?
No, you dropped right out.
Oh,
There he is.
I was saying, I agree with you in that we can't make it too hard with no payoff because that's not fun for anybody. So I think, are you blushing? I can't tell my screen.
No, you're there. You're good. You're good.
No, I'm gonna jump into Lowe's real quick here, but I just wanted to bring something up totally unrelated to what we're talking about. I've been thinking about ever since I saw the second episode and Hera's in the Phantom and not the Ghost. Who's in the Ghost? Like, is the Ghost just up orbiting or somewhere else with
Zeb dead, baby. Zeb's dead.
Yeah, where is the Ghost? And when will we see it? Let's put it that way.
There's got to be a reason that she's in the Phantom, right? Like that something's coming soon with the Ghost.
Well, if I'm going to guess, if we met Hera on Home 1, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, then my guess is it's parked on Home 1 in a docking bay somewhere.
That's what I was thinking. I think it's just parked somewhere.
Yep.
You think we'll get what's his name too? I think Callus will be in the show, a live action version of Callus.
I know.
I would love to see Callus at some point.
I pop Callus in the chat every chance I get.
Robert is on point today. My goodness, he says that Stonehenge area was like a compass, but without the ball or the map thing, that it's kind of worthless, right? You don't know what it's pointing to. And then it says Sabine sort of hacked that system by having a scan of the temple area, and so she was able to kind of hack it to pointing a light, but you still had nothing to ground it to. That was really good. And then, oh my goodness, I saw that Rob's Sketchcraft, here he is. The Council of Space Elves has convened. 2 more hours of the courtship of Princess Leia. All right, so so where's the Ghost? Thank you for that, Rob, by the way. Thank you for the $5 super chat. That's fantastic. Where's the ghost in why did Hera bring the Phantom 2 instead of the ghost to Corellia? Somebody's using it. Somebody's
She was
busy.
going to have to dodge the pew 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 in that scene, and it was
Yeah.
an easy way to dodge. I almost lost suspension of disbelief because she was dodging too much. I was like, please get over this. But it built the tension, the back and the forth between that whole scene and Chopper and her's relationship. Like, that was the first time that the actress didn't take me out of it, and I believed it was Hera. For me.
Did we see? We didn't see the Phantom like arriving on Corellia. We just saw them landing, right? We see them landing.
Right.
So
No.
the ghost could literally just be in orbit around Corellia, and they just took the
That's
Phantom.
kind of
down.
what I was thinking. Like keep Jason out of trouble, like in orbit, because he's probably old enough to pilot himself right now, right?
If Jason was,
if he's strong,
Jason would be around 11 right now. If the last scene of Rebels with Hera and Jason occur around the same time as that last scene with Sabine and Ahsoka, if that occurs at the same time.
It's roughly the same time. It is.
Just old enough to fly around, but
you're ready to take over, no matter what your age.
So Infinity Ultron says if you pause at the right time, you can see the ghost in Home 1's hangar. Like, oh, really? Now I've got to.
Now I've got to. Got that Easter egg yet?
Now I've got an Easter egg to go find. That'll be a search.
Can I speak to infrastructure? Does anybody want to talk about Star Wars infrastructure? I think it's much simpler. Like, I think we're learning about space lanes from the Chiss Skywalkers, and the legends of Luke Skywalker, and I'm going back to it, guys. It's much simpler. There is just breadth in between the publishing world and the comic world, and they're spreading out from the High Republic, and they're making different forms of the Force and different tribes and stuff. The Night Sisters, to me, is the double MacGuffin. It's like the thing in season 1 of The Mandalorian and getting Grogu and stuff. It was really about Moff Gideon showing up at the end, and we're going to get Thrawn at the end, and it's going to be Chiss Skywalker Force things and much broader, I think.
I don't think we'll get more Chiss. I don't think we're going to get more Chiss in this series anyway. In this series, because the Chiss are part of our galaxy. The Chiss aren't they are part of our galaxy. It's just the unknown regions. Well, not our galaxy. I mean the Star Wars galaxy. Mm-hmm. Like the Chiss are part of the Star Wars galaxy, but they're in the unknown regions of the Star Wars galaxy. But they're not from a whole different galaxy.
Right. But narratively, you're going to meet people from other universes, and so when you meet other people from this universe first, that's what the shift is. Everyone in Star Wars will get used to people from other universes because we're used to different Force users in our universe. That's my contention.
Other galaxies, you mean? But yeah.
Galaxies, etc.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I would say, I agree with Trev. I don't think we're gonna do that, but I can say that I think that they're going to tie it to the Purgle, and you see the Purgle in the star maps even, and I think some of the space lanes and things, and it's kind of been alluded to. They learned from following the Purgle.
The Purgle.
Remember that Ezra.
It's all about the space lanes in the High Republic and how people see them differently, and different people see the space lanes, and again, how we get from one place to another. In narrative is literally how you build and expand stuff. So I believe the publishing mouse is working somewhere in between, and it's happening. That's what.
There's always heavily traveled space lanes in Star Wars. There's always been like trade routes and all that kind of stuff. Like heavily traveled, known hyperspace lanes, where that's where for example when Han Solo was smuggling stuff and everything else, he knows to stay off the main hyperspace lanes because they're patrolled, right? They're doing all this stuff that's he knows to stay off of them. So that's why they go around different. That's why he goes around different ways and all that other kind of stuff, right? So
yeah, real quick, I know Nerd Mafia, you got to run into Lowe's. Before you run in, is there something you want to say real quick, or we'll catch you when you get back out?
I honestly got nothing, and T-Mobile's not liking the stream. So
Okay, well then we'll catch
Thanks for
you.
being-
We'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks.
take it easy.
All right.
Love you, dude.
Yeah. So, we are exploring different ways through hyperspace. Jedi Mike, just to entertain it for a moment. We know that in the High Republic, they were traveling in a new mode between hyperspace, and there was talk of how Purgle had intersected with hyperspace lanes and caused great casualties and things like that. So I think that at some point we may see that somewhere. I certainly do not think we're going to see anything even close to that at all, like in any shape in this show at all. Other than we are going to see Purgle, and we are going to see them traveling.
Filoni, Chang, Hidalgo building stuff like 20 years ago. They were building the infrastructure in their minds of the narrative back then. And they're still pulling from concept art and things from all of our delicious time periods. And they're using the collective consciousness of the Force like to bring forward these new stories. And I think that's why everyone's getting so excited. But again, I live inside the Force, so it's strange when.
Hey, Rural Farm Boy, I'll give you a chance to get your 2 cents in. What do you think?
Yeah, sticking on the Purgle thing, I want to say this was Sion that Balin and Shin and Morgan were on, that planet, the stone map compass. Did you happen to notice when Balin's looking up? He's looking up at the sky, and one of the stones that has the bottom circle cut out, if you take a look up in that sky, there's Purgle there. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Balin hears them and he looks up at them, and you can see one just moving across the cloud.
And do you think Dave Filoni will ever bring us here, like a Battlestar Galactica
I'll
kind
tell
of
you what,
situation?
Santa. I tweeted like 4 months before Ahsoka came out. I tweeted when someone said, "Where is Ezra?" I made a joke saying that he's at a McDonald's. You never know.
You never know. You never know. Would they do a Battlestar Galactica, make one of those galaxies, ours, the Milky Way?
Trekization of Star Wars?
Say what?
The Star Trekization. I think of Star Trek. I don't think of Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica, they were searching for Earth. It was in another galaxy. So it's more like that. In Star Trek, they were exploring from Earth out. Battlestar Galactica, they were out searching for Earth. So it's more that. Like Star Wars doesn't take place like from Earth going out. It's in another galaxy far, far away. So it would be that they would happen upon it. And do I think Filoni would ever go there? Well, theoretically,
I don't think Filoni would, but I think it's potential that somewhere down the line we get like Masters of the Universe 1987, like where He-Man showed up on Earth, right?
Well, and theoretically, I mean, it's right in there, right? A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It puts us in this reality. It's just in a different galaxy. So could one of those galaxies be the Milky Way? Theoretically, yes. Do you think it will ever go to the Milky Way?
No.
I mean,
The Purgle, the ability to travel between space and time in that reality is similar to our reality. And we already have Force ghosts that are important in Star Wars. Like, we're not going to go much farther than Force ghosts and communing with Force ghosts or Force healing, right? We're going to stick to the things that human beings understand and then the fantasy stuff of the future that we know. So I think between Force ghosts and Purgle or Chiss Skywalkers, right? Chiss Skywalkers, they commune with the Force so they can be the navigators, right, of the lane. So something in between Anakin, Qui-Gon, Force ghosts, they're not going to go away from that. They're not going to go away from Yoda as a Force ghost. In the High Republic, the spirits that they talk to in space and time, they have no reason to go farther away from the magic of the Night Sisters and the Force ghosts and the way that the people travel through the light speed. That's the juice right there in the middle of the triangle for me.
I just want to say, Will, I like they're going to pop out a word of like, so like 2 wolves, a witch, and a wardrobe.
Well, Will Morgan, he can't help himself. His brain's wired differently.
Narratives layered with narratives like Carole King tapestry. I mean, it's so delicious.
Let me bring up another point that I saw mentioned, and it didn't come to me until there's still a lot of the trailers that we haven't seen. And specifically, the one part of the trailer that we've seen is Thrawn, right? When we see Thrawn in the trailer, he's in a place. The place that you see him in looks a lot like a place we just saw in episode 2.
The Eye of Sion. Darth Sion, too? Like why do they call it the Eye of Sion? Like, Sion is in, like, just, like, the air, or Sion is in Darth Sion?
I think it's Sion as in Darth Sion, an obsession with immortality.
Yeah.
Immortality. Good call, Meg. Force
The Lord
goes
of Pain.
to the pain. Is that what you said? To the pain?
The Lord of Pain.
The
He was
Lord,
known as the Lord of Anger and Pain.
The Triumvirate, him, Nihilus, and what's her name there? Treya.
I really hope they do like a flashback or something to Nihilus in the Acolyte, because that guy is the most evil entity that's ever existed.
Yeah, didn't they include? I haven't read those books, but didn't they introduce a race called the Nihil or whatever? That's like, I thought that was going to be. Was that going to be related to Darth Nihilus? I haven't read about that, but
oh no, the Nihil.
They worship something else.
Yeah, and it's not a race of people. It's an ideology.
Okay.
It would go more with nihilism, right? Like nihilism and Nile. That would be the source of that, from the Nile. Yeah, but the
there's another Sith Lord.
Yeah, there's another Sith Lord, Meg.
There's another Sith Lord you should know about, and he follows nihilism. His name is Darth Nietzsche.
Darth Nature.
Nietzsche.
The
philosopher.
The German psychiatrist.
Meg,
German philosopher. Philosopher or psychiatrist? Wasn't whatever he was around.
He was a philosopher. I think Freud was the psychiatrist.
So again, do you see what they're doing with the High Republic? They're opening up access to everybody. Atheists, fundamentalists. You all get your Star Wars because it's not really a line in the middle of the yin and the yang, right? That's a perception. Like, Star Wars is doing what a lot of other people on this planet are doing. They're starting to open it up for everybody. That's my contention. That's just what I see, right? But I am the Bendu. It's a philosophy of being calm.
So to go back to what I was saying, I think we see this Morgan Elsbeth. We know now what this vehicle Thrawn is in. Right? We saw this space.
It needs a hyperspace engine.
It does. There's another question that goes with that. So this Eye of Nile, that they put 10 hyperspace in hyperdrive engines in.
Eye of Sion.
Eye of Sion. Yeah, Eye of Sion.
It's not a Hyundai.
The Eye of Sion, that they put 10 hyperdrive engines in. They're attaching the last one. Eventually, Thrawn's going to be in that. But I heard talk that maybe the reason it's so big is so that it could attach to
Star Destroyer.
Yeah, to the Chimera, to bring the Chimera back.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's like a hyperdrive ring for a one-class Star Destroyer.
Yeah. For an Imperial class Star Destroyer, yeah.
Please, no banana nut muffin jokes, please.
I'm looking for that.
Because the Chimera is out there, and so it's going to be weird when we go there, and like, so all of Thrawn's stormtroopers, if according to the rumors that they're going to be, they were all dead and they're all going to be re-raised, right? But Ezra and Thrawn are still alive.
That's what the spoilers say.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have the scene where maybe the ghost is in.
I loved watching the scenes with you yesterday. I wish you were there, Greg.
Let me
At the Zoom. Sorry. Again, Santa drops the T at the Zoom, and what we say there is there.
So let me share my screen here.
I've got to head out, but thanks for
Okay.
having me on.
All right, we'll talk to you later, Meg.
Love you, Meg.
Thanks for stopping
Good
in.
to be in a live chat with you, Miss Meg. Have a good day.
Yeah. So we've got this scene. Let me. Did I share it yet? No. Let me see. I gotta find. Yeah, I did. All right. So there's this portion here where Ahsoka is coming back, and we're on this platform. You'll see Ahsoka come down the stairs, talk a little bit with Hera, and then as they're walking by, tell me if this is the ghost. That it's coming on the left side of the screen. They're going to kind of walk by. It's really close, like really, really close. It starts there and ends there. Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to isolate it, maybe.
All right, so we're gonna. I'll just pause it so we
I
can
see.
see.
They're literally walking under it.
All right, so if this is the ghost here, right? So starts
That's the
here.
front of the ghost where the Phantom. No, the Phantom goes into the rear.
And
Pause.
Yeah, I want to say that's the starboard side, right where you have the cursor, Santa.
Yeah.
Right there, go up. That's the port side docking ring.
And then we come up this.
You see the
other
round
side.
part up there? That's the port
right
side
here.
docking ring. Yeah, I want
here.
to say that's the ghost.
And that's the edge of it here.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the ghost that they're walking by?
Why would Hera be separated from the ghost?
Right.
Well, this is
It's her
after.
ship.
Yeah, no, this is before. So it's here. Something's going on here. She takes the Phantom to the planet. Yeah. Why does she not just take the ghost? If this is the ghost that they're walking by, and it very well could be. I mean, it's plausible, right? It's
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, why does she take the Phantom and not the ghost? And we didn't see like Zeb or I haven't seen anybody point out, oh look, there's Jason. Right. I don't
Jason for the last episode, in my opinion.
No, we're gonna get him before that.
Well, I don't know anything.
We've already seen him in the trailer.
I know nothing.
Jason was in the trailer?
Yeah. Yeah. He was in the
They
trailer.
say he was in that seat, right? The back of his head in the seat.
Yeah.
The co-pilot.
Yeah.
The shot looking through the cockpit, out the canopy, Hera, Jason in the other seat from the
I
back.
think that was the end of the show.
From the back.
Yeah. It's I
From the
think
back in the last episode.
no, not in the last episode, in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but that trailer edit is from the very last episode of the season. No?
Oh, I don't think so. Let me see if I can find it. I think I posted it.
I assume Jason will be there, but just like it's a matter of we haven't actually seen his face, is what I was trying to say.
No, we have not.
You know,
We've not seen his face.
What we were saying earlier, if the dude's 11, you got to know how to fly the shit. Like, I'm sorry, Santa, you got to get your jar in that Streamlabs thing ready to play that Meghan Trainor song.
I mean, he would have been raised. He's been raised on the Ghost, essentially, right? So he would know.
Right.
I'm sure he knows how to fly it.
If he's in the show during the middle of the season, he's going to have to do something. I'm saying, don't do that. Just give us the tease at the very end of the season and put it off.
Here we go. I've got it. I can show on screen here.
Oh, we can see the back of his head. Yeah.
Yeah, where you can see him. And let me hold on a second. I've got two pictures where we can compare them. And so let me see.
I'll see Mike and Trev's 11 years and up you by one, because my math is telling me it's 12 years from the end of Rebels till now. Because right now, according to Jason, we're sitting somewhere inside of Mandalorian Season 2's timeline.
Either way.
So that's what, 6 years or 5 years after Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah,
Right.
5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Here we go. So
Wasn't
in the
Luke
trailer,
in the first season of Kenobi?
Yep, there he is. That's
Yeah.
Jason Sindola.
in the trailer, this is
In a
Right.
hyperspace lane at the
That's-
end of the season, going off to see Kanan in another galaxy, another universe. No, I don't know.
I see what you're saying, but no. And then this is the picture of him from Rebels at the end of Rebels. So
Yeah.
you see, like, from a height perspective, from a age perspective, that this is completely consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
with
regardless,
this.
I think whether he's 11 or 12 or 10, you know what I mean? Like, cause like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's all around the same age, like just preteen, like a preteen on the cusp of being a teenager.
Yes,
Santa, 19 months of membership.
yes,
Howdy, Don.
yeah. Let's see. Yeah, every trailer is going to be from the first 4 episodes. I agree with Star Wars Eddie
And it's
there.
interesting, and saying that, on top of that, so has Jason shown Force abilities, and why Ahsoka chose to train Sabine and not Jason?
Now you raise another whole question, Trev. Look at
Right?
you.
Like, so why would Ahsoka train Sabine as an apprentice, as a Padawan, and not Jason?
So many good questions, and not Grogu.
And not Grogu. Well, and saying that, she might not have known Grogu was alive until that season 2 episode of Mando. She didn't know he existed at that point. But
Well, we know why not Grogu. She told us straight up why not.
Yeah, and I think that's the same reason for Jason. Grogu had attachment to Din.
Could be.
Jason's definitely going to have attachment to Hera. And she's like, no, can't do the attachment thing.
If he has any connection to the Force.
Well, that too.
but again,
Another
but
hit.
speaking of that, why take on? But Jason is different than Grogu, and because she didn't know Grogu and Mando at all. She knows Hera. Like, she knows Hera. She's in constant contact with Hera. Possibly, right? Like, they're friends, right? We could say Ahsoka and Hera are friends, definitely by these 2 episodes.
Sure.
Ahsoka is communing
Why
with
would you not train Jason? Or was Jason being? Are they going to go into that? Was Jason being trained, or does Jason just not have Force abilities? That would just probably make more sense. But
Well, I think Sabine, how much Force sensitivity does Sabine have, right? Every indication we have is that it's almost non-existent.
Yeah, Hu Yang said that.
Yeah.
she did fine with the Darksaber. She knows her Force strength. It just isn't coming out because of her trauma, in my contention.
I don't know.
well, yeah, she could use the Darksaber way better than Din, for example, right? Like, she could use the Darksaber way better than Din, right? So
Absolutely. But I think what Ahsoka sees is this parent-child relationship between Grogu and Din. It says his connection to you is too strong. And so she refuses, like, no, this is too, he's got too much emotional tie to you. I won't do it, but you can talk to Luke. And then I think the same could be true with Jason and Hera, with Hera being his mom. Like, nah, you've got this connection to your mom, not going to do it. Sabine
but
doesn't have.
you don't think Hera would push Jason to, because Kanan.
Right.
You don't think Hera would want Jason to continue Kanan's legacy?
Right.
I think Hera would push for that.
I do too. And not only because she had, obviously, I mean, they had a son together. So she, with Kanan was able to fulfill his Jedi responsibilities, his Jedi connection to the Force, without bending to this connection like Anakin did, right? If Ahsoka's saying Anakin is to I'm just going to put Padme. Anakin is to Padme as we have with Kanan to Hera. Anakin fell. Kanan didn't. You've got 2 examples of this love between a husband and wife kind of situation, right? A mother, father's children, where Kanan was still able to retain his Jedi connection. So why wouldn't Hera say?
Go ahead. I'm just going to say Kanan was basically orphaned as well, right?
Yeah.
When Order 66 happened, I guess, right? So.
Yeah. So and there's, this is the first time I've put the parallels between Anakin and Kanan.
Yeah.
I've not put that together in this.
Well, have you read A New Dawn? Kanan and Hera, how they met. That book by Jonathan Jackson Miller is phenomenal. I've been telling Sheev for years. It's right on the shelf, but we isolate.
Yeah.
I isolate. Sorry, Sheev.
There you go. Will Morgan. Hera is named after the goddess of marriage and childbirth. That's true.
By the way, I see Hera as the Kanan of this season. Like, she's like the layperson, right? She's like the General Leia and the Kanan. She's like the wise person, the leader.
Well, everyone on the Ghost is a substitute for the original trilogy characters, right? Like Ezra and Sabine are a substitute for Luke and Leia, and saying that Hera's also a substitute for Leia in the fact that she has the like the rebel leader kind of aspects of Leia, and Sabine has like what maybe be the lack of force aptitude, but like everything else. And Ezra, all the Rebels characters are, like I said, they're all just stand-ins for the original trilogy characters.
Yeah, well, Zeb is the Macquarie Chewbacca.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's...
Disney shill.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So that's a good point.
Jonathan Jackson Miller also wrote the Kenobi book that should have been the plot for the Kenobi show.
And if you
It was about gangsters on Tatooine. We had predicted it. Ay, Dios mío.
If you take Chopper, and I'd like to talk about Chopper a little bit. You take Chopper instead of the R2-D2, right? He's the sassier, more violent version of R2-D2, right? He's a straight up killer. I absolutely loved Chopper.
Yeah, Grip.
And I've seen people say Chopper is going to steal the show. I think so. At this point, Chopper he's so good. And that whole chase scene with Hera and Chopper after that hyperspace drive was gold. Absolute gold.
And we can understand him now too. If you listen, did you go through my things? That was hilarious.
Yeah. And she goes, no, I didn't. He goes, yes, you did. You can hear it. Mm-hmm. And then she goes, did you look under this? And goes, oh, wait. And he looks and he goes, I found it.
Right now for me.
Get better with time. This thing is aging like pristine Star Wars. It's gold.
Because it's been sitting in Dave's head for like 10 years. He's been wanting to tell us the story for 10 years.
It's so good. It's so good. Kanan's Force Ghost. What do you think of the chances of seeing Kanan's Force Ghost?
He's in the Wolf, right? He's in the Wolf.
He's in the Wolf.
We're never going to see his Force Ghost. He's in the might be the Wolf. I could see saying that. I could see, when we were just talking about earlier, I could see Jason communing with the Wolf.
Yes.
I don't know any of the tea about Anakin this season. Like, I really like how they establish Anakin's Force Ghost this season is everything.
Well, right? We're not saying they will.
Okay, I don't know. It's probably going to be, because I don't know any tea. I don't know if it's going to be a flashback, if it's a ghost. Tales of the Jedi. Like, Tales of the Jedi is telling us like what to expect. I think. I don't know.
Now we'll find out about Anakin's Force Ghost on the 29th when we get them 40 short stories, which I'm looking very much forward to. From a certain point of view, that'll be on
happy anniversary, everybody. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mike Sen's writing that story.
I don't know that we will see Anakin's Force Ghost at all in this. And if we do, it may be a Qui-Gon Jinn kind of situation in Kenobi. That'd be my guess for Anakin's Force Ghost. The other bit of news, and it came through Meg's video today, is we know that the next episode is in the low 30, like 35 minutes.
It's going to be as long as the story needs it to be. I'm not concerned over run times. I mean,
not either.
Very first Mando was 37 minutes.
Yeah,
I think Dave's just used to writing like TV shows, right? Like he's used to writing the 22-minute format. So for him, stretching it to even 30, 35, 50 in this case, in the first episode's case, you know what I mean? Like it's probably a stretch for him just to do that. Like it's like, because he's just so, like, how many of the episodes of Clone Wars did he help direct and write? How many? All the episodes of Rebels, right? Like he's storyboarding all those things. So he's very used to like the 22-minute format or the 2-episode 42-minute format that he sometimes showed as one episode, right? So
exactly.
Well, remember, for Rebels, it wasn't just Dave. There was a whole team. There was Henry Gilroy. There was Stephen Melching.
No doubt. But that's Dave's experience, is what I'm saying.
Right. Exactly.
He started doing live action stuff with Mando, the season premiere Mando, or the series premiere Mando. Like it was probably just a stretch for him just to even make it 30, however long that episode was, 30 something minutes.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I think he's hanging out a lot with Rick F, so he's getting a lot of insight I think he's learning more from Rick than anybody else, from the choreography and the animatics, and Rick was learning from him, and it's like really cool what they're able to do. It's too bad Ewan McGregor dropped the ball on Deborah, but that was just because he's too expensive. Ewan's too expensive.
I think what Trev's saying is directionally absolutely true. That Dave thinks that these story arcs that culminate in around that time frame, that's a story arc for him, and how the pacing of it goes and how it ends up getting edited and cut allows that to flex a little bit. But Meg shared today, so if episode 3 is like 36 minutes, something like that, episode 5, which is the next one Dave is supposed to be directing, she has 49 minutes and 50 seconds. 46 minutes and 10 seconds before the credits. So that's not a bad one. So it falls right in line with all the other shows, this 35 to 45 minute kind of time frame, 40 to 50 minute. All of these live action shows seem to be going that direction. And we saw some news about this before, that the more CG, the shorter the episode. That's basically a formula you can use. So the longer episodes are going to be less CG intense because they just don't have the time, the resources to cut all of that in to a longer episode.
Well, there's either swinging, right? It's like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Lost was on ABC TV, and then the streaming goes to a weird time, and now it's all coming back to network television time. And
it is.
The Filoniverse could be like the 6 seasons of Lost. I mean, you could have 44 minutes where you do a lot of space and time travel in a delicious way with lots of characterization and lots of wonderful practical sets and just a little bit of CG that adds the magic to it.
Just thinking, how do you think Sabine and Ahsoka get to the New Galaxy? Do you think they stow away on the Eye of Sion?
I don't. I think that's why I mentioned before about the Purgle. And we see
the Purgle?
in the trailer the Purgle, them flying like through them and all of that. I think that's going to come into play. And
they'll hit the ride with the Purgle somehow?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because the Purgle obviously took Thrawn and Ezra there, and they're going to. I think Morgan's going to get away, and they'll be like, "Dang it! Now what are we going to do?" And that'll tie them back to, let's go find the Purgle and see if we can connect to them and get them to take us.
I think this is going to go to the character and of the different types of magic and tribes. The Night Sister type of vibe cannot travel with the Force. They need the mechanical, like stuff, and certain people that have a better ethic. The Chiss Skywalkers that are more like in the middle, right? Or the Jedi that can commune, like Ezra, right? I'm telling you, I think there's going to be an ethic across space and time where the dark and the light and the shades can do the time travel and the hyperspace in certain ways. If you think about how they tell it in the High Republic era versus certain comic book things, and the way the dark stuff too has been expanding, right? The dark ways that Vader does stuff with the masks and stuff. Like, we're getting into a new place where they're going to use human relations and different tribal and mystical relations to then mirror our experience more than just Lord of the Rings and Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe have done. This is the new.
I hear you, Mike, but I do not think they're going to make that extra leap that you're convinced they are. I just don't think so. I don't think that hyperspace travel is connected to the Force in any way. I just don't think so. But we shall see. I think the Purgle use an energy to get there that comes out of, they emit, and we have hyperspace engines. That's how we've seen. In even the paths that the Nihil used in the High Republic books was a form of like a modified hyperdrive in. So all those, none of those give any indication that there's any Force sensitivity or Force interaction with it, other than the Force flows through all things, right? Other than that, a couple things.
Our hologram selves or our ghost selves over different places, like Luke can, and people can project their hologram selves. And so if you're with the right side or with the understanding of the ethical side of the Force, then maybe you can not self-emulate, right? You bring the energy into you, the Purgle brings it into you, and that's how they travel through space and time. That's how the Chiss can connect to navigating through it.
No, they use the Chiss navigators use third sight, where they can see slightly ahead in the future, and that's what Anakin used when he was pod racing. He didn't realize that's what he was doing. And when Darth Vader then does the same thing, he uses the same thing. You hear that narrative in his dialogue where he's connecting to the Force the same way he did to see the future just ahead. Like they can see a second or two ahead. And so he would see, oh, something's coming, swerve right. Oh, something's coming, swerve left. And Will Morgan, the outro.
Skywalkers can't do it. They can only see ahead, but the Purgle have so much energy that they can see it and move through it. That's how relativity works.
Well, I don't even know that the Purgle care. They just move. The outro is very clear. I saw Star Wars Explained, and other people have done this. They've translated all of those.
Oh my God! Already?
Yeah. So we have all the planets.
The hieroglyphs.
Yeah. They've translated them into the planet names in there. Many of them are planets that we've already seen. They're think of it as Game of Thrones intro. Think of it like that.
That's what I said. But that's what I said when I first watched it. I was like, "This is very Game." When I saw that outro, I was like, "This is very Game of Thrones."
Like they go by Westeros and they go by this and that. It's the same thing in these planets as they go through there. You'll see, I watched Explain's video on it this morning, but it has like Corellia on it. It's got some of the planets that we've already visited, and there's like a handful of planets that we haven't been to yet. That may be a clue of planets we will see in the near future, but that's the deal there. It says, given Paleon was in Mando season 3, will he appear in an episode here? Really good question. He fits in with Thrawn.
Possible.
Paleon was never shown in Rebels, right? Was he in Rebels?
I think so. Yeah. I'm
going to be sure. I can't remember specifically.
I know. I know he was brought into the finale Palian went with, in fact, yes, 100%. I know it because in the finale of Rebels, Palian is sent with Thrawn back to Lothal, and Thrawn calls up to Palian, or Palian calls down and says, "Hey, something's here," and Thrawn's like, "What?" And it's the Purgle.
Yeah, it's destroying their ships.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yep. So Palian is in it. Could he be in Ahsoka? I think there's a strong possibility.
Well, he's in their galaxy right now. Thrawn's the only one that ain't. Thrawn and Ezra.
That means he's communicating with Morgan, right? So Morgan and him have a connection, right? Morgan and Palian, they have to have a connection. Because if Morgan is the one communing with the Night Sisters from the other galaxies or whatever,
right?
Whatever they are from the other galaxy, she's the one relaying Thrawn's instructions to Palion, right?
Yep. That would be it. Fan gesture, my good friend Adam. This is, remember when Star Wars was simple? Yeah, and that's why I agree with this comment that Sketchcraft put. Absolutely none of that will happen, Mike. Exactly. Absolutely none of that will happen. They're just not going to do that in live action. It's not happening.
You don't want to overcomplicate it too much.
But we're not overcomplicating it. It's the same. It's exactly what Master Yoda said. It's just as simple. We're just looking at it with new eyes. Like the protons, the neutrons, and the electrons have always been there, and so has the quantum stuff. We just see it differently now.
They're not going to go that deep, Mike. They're just not. They're just not. And they've shown one thing. They've shown here is that we have one story arc, and it's a fairly simple one. Get to this other universe, and the whole thing's going to be about getting there and the journey to getting there, the relationships between the people as they're going there. We've already set up with Ahsoka and Sabine. Hopefully we'll learn at some point why Ahsoka left Sabine before. I imagine that'll come out along the way. But yeah, we're not going to see like how hyperspace works. We're not going to see about how Purgle do things. Maybe that'll come out in some expansion book or some, extra material. It's absolutely not going to be in this show. Leia, Dathomir witches are not that force sensitive. Didn't Luke say to Rey how one heart is that the force will work? They are fairly force sensitive though.
Yeah.
And they use magic.
Yeah. The way that they use magic
is how they express the force. Is how they express the force. That's just their way of expressing the force is their magic in quotations.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Trav. Not in those words, but I was going to say the same thing. That yes, that's exactly right. The way that their magic is the way that is the Force.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a different. It's not a different power. It's the Force in the way that they express that, as Trev said. Yeah. Anyone mad about Ahsoka stealing Cal's Force abilities? The greatest attribute was her empathy. She didn't seem to care Sabine was nearly killed. Hoping the sulking was just 2 episodes. Omni-Man, there's some backstory there that we need.
And I mean, Ahsoka was at her bedside, right? So, like, Ahsoka cared that she was like. Ahsoka cared. Like, who knows how? Like, pardon me, but Sabine might have been out of it for like 2 or 3 days, or 4 days, or a week, and Ahsoka might have been there the whole time, right?
Right. She was definitely out.
Strange. Ahsoka knows what's happening in the future. She knows what's coming. So, like, her calm energy is with purpose because she's really communing with the Force. I think
She's
made up drama between her and Sabine for narrative reasons. I think it's deeper.
Yeah, she said you've done enough. I think that Ahsoka is going through some PTSD kind of stuff. She's going through some negative energy she's got to work through. If you see, there's a story mechanic that's used, and it was used in Harry Potter. It's right in the Sorcerer's Stone, right, or the Philosopher's Stone, where you take lead and transform it to gold. and there's a several stage process that goes through to get the lead into gold, and it's reflected in Harry Potter brilliantly. Without getting into the literary mechanics of it, go look it up. You can see the lead to gold embodiment in literature. You can find it. It's easy, but
That channel, Star Wars Dumbledore.
Yeah, it has to do with the concept of philosopher stuff. So anyway, this story arc seems to me to be closer to where Ahsoka is. There's a phase where they go through anger, and it expresses itself in distancing people from them and shutting people out and all of that. Ahsoka seems to be going through that. And if you take that and carry it through to where Ahsoka the White would be that gold at the end. So if Dave is using that kind of story arc for Ahsoka, my contention is she's at that stage. It's like Harry Potter when you get him into.
Didn't Dave labeled Ahsoka as being like, he compared her to Gandalf the White?
Yes.
As being that character at the end of Rebels. So that's the Sabine we have currently. That's the Sabine we have currently, is Ahsoka as compared to Gandalf, right?
Yeah, I think he's backed off if she's not the White yet.
Well, he'll never label her that, but maybe once she gets through, she probably has to go through some kind of trials with the rumors, the world between world, the trials she'll face with that, and when she'll come out of that, she'll be more attuned to what.
It's like Harry Potter after Goblet of Fire. After Goblet of Fire, he's seen Cedar Diggory's death. He's in a very negative place, and he feels isolated and alone. And Ahsoka, seeing through Order 66, isolated and alone. And so she's got to still come through the other side, as you're saying. She's got to go through some sort of trial.
I think she's still dealing with Anakin turning, right? And saying that, and Anakin being dead. We haven't seen the fallout. We haven't seen Ahsoka's reaction to Darth Vader being dead. Because Darth Vader's Anakin, right? So we haven't seen it. So that happened in the last 5-6 years in this timeline. And we haven't seen Ahsoka's reaction to that.
Mm-hmm.
She fought him in the season 2 of Rebels, but she didn't kill him, and she knows he's alive still after that. But we haven't seen. That's an interesting thing too. We haven't seen her reaction to Anakin's death.
Well, I think we did. She said something about a parallel. She was seeing within herself what it was like to leave her master, and then what it was like to make the choice to leave Sabine behind. I think she's way.
That's talking about Clone Wars season 5, when she left the Order and she left Anakin, and a lot of people are now attributing that to being that made Anakin felt more isolated and alone, and made him more disgruntled against the Jedi, disgruntled against the Council.
Yeah,
but again, we haven't seen Ahsoka deal with the fallout of Anakin dying.
I think we will, based on some of the leaks that we've heard in this whole flashback scene or vision scene of Anakin, of her fighting Anakin on Mustafar. Yeah, I think that'll be part of her dealing with that. I could have saved him. I think we're going to see her having nightmares, visions, this dealing with the aftermath of learning that Anakin is Vader. She learned that in Rebels, but we haven't seen her emotionally deal with that truth after learning it. And
learning that he's dead, right? She's obviously friendly with Luke and everything else, and Luke would have told her that, or otherwise. But
yeah.
It was cool inside of Ahsoka and Sabine, as Sabine was waking up and Ahsoka was communing with her and hearing voices together. No, did you guys not see that? Ahsoka was with Sabine's consciousness as she woke up, but that's how she was able to be right there with her.
I don't know about that. I mean, she was having her own recollections. I don't know if she was seeing Sabine's thoughts, but she was remembering this conversation she had with Sabine. It could have been from either point of view. She was replaying.
They were tied together. in that consciousness, no?
Maybe not.
As Sabine woke up, I think that was all. Yeah, Ahsoka could feel everything around her.
Perhaps. We don't have proof of that, but there's nothing wrong with thinking that could be the case. Do you think Ahsoka was hearing Sabine's dreams? Your audio cut out there, Farm Boy.
No, I was going to ask you. You think that that Force vision of Ahsoka facing off with Anakin on Mustafar, you think that's still, we might get to see that, or some version of it?
Yes,
that's what I meant to ask. I would have loved to ask Meg that, because not too long ago, she kind of stepped back away from anything Force visions that Ahsoka might have. I meant to ask her if she thought, like we are, that we get to see that. Just curious on her answer.
Jason's still convinced it's going to happen.
Well, if Ahsoka goes into some kind of portal to go into the world between worlds, we'll probably see maybe the events of what actually happened play out, like Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting, and then Ahsoka maybe will have a vision of how she would have changed, if she could have changed it, right?
Yeah, because we know the world between worlds does not present alternate realities; it presents the reality.
Yeah.
So, we would not see an alternate version of that in the world between worlds, but it could spur Ahsoka's vision. Like she saw this happen.
What would she have done if she was there?
Yeah.
And it probably will just be that she would still lose him to the dark side.
Yep. That's how it's supposed. And she's supposed to come to this understanding. Anakin's path was his path. She's not responsible for his path or the outcome of his path. That was his journey, and she's on her own journey, and she's supposed to come to that acceptance.
It's going to show her that the path that she took, which is what led her to where she is now, was the right way to go.
Yes. All right, I need to start wrapping it up. We've gone almost 2 hours. I have a Mike Porter dad joke real quick, and then I don't want to forget it. So let me cover the Mike Porter dad joke, and then we can kind of wrap up any final thoughts. Mike Porter dad joke says,
"Yeah, I saw it.
Why did the Grand Admiral plan so well? Well, because he didn't want to see his plans thrown away."
Michael.
I love it. My daughter sent me a dad joke yesterday. It says a guy went to the store to get a dozen bees. And he got there and said the owner gives him his container of bees, and he counts. There are 13 bees in there. He goes, "Wait, I've got an extra bee." And he goes, "Well, that's a freebie."
Throw it in the chat, Mike. Or put it in the joke spread.
So there you go. Final thoughts for the Ahsoka premiere. Trev, I didn't hear. What kind of score would you give the two?
I gave both episodes. I thought overall just an 8. I thought it was a solid 8 out of 10.
Excellent.
I enjoyed it. I thought the fight between Shin and Sabine was kind of clumsy, and like I said, the whole stab through the chest thing is kind of. I didn't especially like it. It's kind of overdone at this point, and
she was shot through the lever, through her liver. Yeah.
That's not really her liver. That's maybe a little higher up. Even that might be her lungs. At least seemed like, well,
it's about liver health.
Yeah, I know. Look, it's become memeable at this point. I know. Rural Farm Boy, what do you give the 2 episodes?
Don't put science in Star Wars, please.
Is medical health science?
Santa knows me. I don't rank. I just thought it was really dang good, and I'm looking forward to what's going to happen come episode 3, because Ahsoka and Sabine are headed to Sion. Balin said as much. They're coming.
And you see it in the trailer where Ahsoka is battling Balin there.
And they're coming for that map, and I'm thinking, yeah, Morgan's going to take that map and get away with it, but they've got to have a copy of it somehow, because to wrap the whole thing up for the 8 is who gets to who first, and then more importantly, who brings that who first back into the galaxy first, and then what happens from that.
And we see Thrawn on that deck, the same deck that Morgan Elsbeth was on. So we know he gets there, or they get to him, and he's on that. So those are things to come to fruition. Mike thinks that we're going to see Jason Syndulla in the outro to the show, the last episode. I think we're going to see him before that, but I'm excited about it. I really am. Episode 3. I know it's only like 35 minutes, but look, I'm really excited for where the show can build to, and knowing some of the things that Jason and Bespin have reported has got me really, really. I'm really, really excited about it. So,
few days we'll see if they
going over a lot of spoilers tomorrow. Sorry.
Spoilers tomorrow.
Second half will be spoilers like last Friday.
What I'll do is if there are any spoilers to discuss, the first half of the show we will keep spoiler free. If there are spoilers, it'll only be in the second half. I set that rule for Jason last week. We'll do that again this week. I don't know if I haven't talked to him in the last couple of days. I don't know if he has any new things. I haven't talked to Bespin in the last couple of days, but we'll see. If there are any, I'll hold them for the second half of the show.
I'll be in the chat for that.
All right, thanks, Roll Farm Boy. Appreciate you being here. And you got to meet my friend Meg. How good is that? And Trev, as always, thank you, sir. I really appreciate you dropping in.
Anytime, buddy.
Your support.
Take care.
All right, take care, Trev. We'll see you later. And Jedi Mike, of course. Thanks for giving us your time today. Hope you have
thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Take care.
Santa.
All right. Bye-bye. You guys, thanks for being here today. We've had another fun show talking about Ahsoka. This series, it's been great. You guys, please do the social things. Like, subscribe, share. And if you could swing it, please consider supporting us on Patreon, becoming one of our patrons. We would really appreciate it. Thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. And until next time, my friends, Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you always. Bye-bye.